Join us in kicking them in the asteroid.
Welcome to the Lions of Liberty podcast. Here is your host, your guide, your shining beacon of liberty,
Brian McWilliams. Yes, hello everybody. I'm back again. Mark could not be here for this very special edition of Mr. Johnson's Libertyhood. If you couldn't get that from the intro music, we are back again with a brand new edition where we will look at some of the actions of presidential candidate for the Libertarian Party, Gary Johnson, as well as Bill Weld, good old fiery face himself. Now, I'm not going to be flying solo today, as much as some of you might like that here in the Brians of Liberty studios. I have a special guest with me. You might know him from Felony Friday. You might know him from his involvement with the Lions of Liberty overall. But yes, from the Felony Friday podcast, John Odermatt. What's up, Odie?
It is freaking phenomenal to be here. You know, I felt left out for so long. You guys had your little Rand Pauluses and Minuses show, and you know, I was never invited on, but finally, I've been invited on to talk about Gary Johnson. So I'm excited to be here.
Good. Well, you should have your own show, man. You could call it Odermax or Odershats, and you can go through topics of the day.
That's pretty terrible. It's
be like
bad
that.
Pun. That's a bad pun. I'm not.
What do you think? That's all I do here. That's my sole role with the Lions of Liberty is bad puns, man.
That's what they called me in elementary school, Odershat. That's bringing back horrible.
I nailed it.
Memories.
I'm so happy to hear that.
I'm just kidding.
I just picture you shaking at your desk right now. Memories of the seesaw, be held under the seesaw as people go up and down your head. All right, man. Well, you know how this show works. So for those of you that haven't heard the show before, basically we go through the actions of Gary Johnson, some of the things he said, some of the things he might have done, and we tie Bill Weld into that because, you know, they are a team in all things. They are a team, the Johnson Weld squad, and we're going to give them a very sophisticated grading method. Now, what that is if we like what he's saying, if it jives with libertarian values, if we think it forwards the thinking that we agree with, we give it a Johnson. But if we don't, if we say, hey, this cat over here, he needs a slap upside the ears, somebody box him on both sides, then we give him a Johnson-off. Now, Odie, tell me, are you ready to play the game?
I've been waiting my entire life for this one moment.
You've been waiting for a Gary Johnson. All right, guys. And by the way, before we start, I do want to say this is episode 230 of the Lions of Liberty podcast. So that means you can find that at lionsofliberty.com/230. You can also find the Mr. Johnson's Libertyhood archives at lionsofliberty.com/Gary. Now, let's roll down and play the game. All right, first thing on the docket. There's been a lot of talk. Of course, you can't avoid it within libertarian circles. I mean, Gary Johnson, he ran before. He didn't get anywhere near his goals of, the percentiles he was going for. But I believe this election cycle, he said it would be a victory for him to get, 5%, Odie? Was that the figure I think he threw out there?
Well, yeah, that's the justification that the Johnsonites, all the little Johnson apostles running around saying, we need to back Gary Johnson. I've been saying the whole time, we need to get 5% so we can get on the ballot because it's going to make everything great when you get federal money. So, yeah, I think it's 5%.
All right. So, I mean, and you know what? I will say this. So far, if you're looking at the most recent polls and our buddy Howie Snowden, which some of you may know him from the Lions in Living Rooms Drinking Liquor podcast we do, he has been throwing out polls at us constantly, and typically I've seen Johnson, I would say he ranges roughly around the 7% area, and, the highest poll I think I saw was 13%. Now, of course, to get in these utterly rigged debates, which of course are run by a commission, which is jointly Republican and Democrat that decides who gets in and gets out, you need to be at 15%. So, Odie, in your opinion, do you think that, number one, Gary's going to make it in? And number two, should we be getting excited? And is this a Johnson or a Johnson-off at this point?
Well, number one, I do not think he'll get in the debates. The only way I think he will get into the debates is if he does get close to that 15%. I don't think he's ever going to get 5 polls with 15%.
Well, especially not when they can pick and choose them, right? I mean, it's
exactly.
Like, I think what are the odds?
Yeah, they'll just pick ones that don't have it at 15%. It's not that
like
freaking
one
hard.
guy they ask on the street corner, they'll be like, "Old man Johnson, what do you think of Gary Johnson?" Ooh, no, that's the poll we're counting, man. Didn't make it
exactly.
Yeah.
So they'll pick what they want. They'll try to keep him out. The only chance he has is if he bitches and moans, if he has a couple where he's over 15 or at 15, and Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton say, "Yeah, sure, let Gary Johnson in. I'll whoop his ass." So, which could happen, and then they'll probably let Gary Johnson in, and then Donald Trump will whoop his ass.
You think maybe they would let him in just as, they'll be like, you know what, hey, Hillary, we're going to need a break from yelling at each other and me saying you're crooked, Hillary. And you should be like, yeah, that's right. We need a little break, So maybe they just need somebody else that they can kind of relax on hitting on each other for a while and just need a whipping boy, which... I'm sorry, I know we all think Gary Johnson's the best candidate of these possible options. We agree on that, but I still have my reservations and think that he might be a complete atrocity on stage going up against those two. So, and maybe they'll just bring him up there for a little breather where they can just go at something easy for a while.
I don't think there's any might about it. I think he'll be absolutely terrible on stage. And I've heard libertarians try to justify it by saying it doesn't matter if he's terrible. It just matters if he's on stage. If he's up there and says nothing at all, he's on stage and people will see him, which I think is just a ridiculous argument. If he does get on stage, it's not going to matter. He's not going to get 5%. So I guess my answer to this whole polling thing, it's a JohnsOFF.
Oh, starting it off with a JohnsOFF. My God. You know what? I am going to disagree. I'll agree with one side of things. I think it would be, I hate to say it, but when he's on stage, I do think it's going to be horrible. He can't win debates against other libertarians, let alone these two monsters of the media that are going to come out there with massive stabs. They're going to pull up everything from Johnson's past and really attack him. But I will say, I don't know if I've ever seen a libertarian across the board. Well, I mean, Ron Paul, actually. But is Gary Johnson? I think he's actually across the board polling better than Ron did. From my memory, Ron was tapping. I mean, certain states Ron would do better in. But for the most part, I think he topped out around, I would say, 5-ish. So... I don't know, man. I think he's
Ron was never polled in a situation where it was just him and two other candidates. I mean,
that's
it was
a very
always
good point.
The whole Republican field taking votes different directions. So, I don't know.
That's a good point. I wonder what would have happened if he had just been on his own flying solo libertarian ticket like Johnson is.
Well, he wasn't 88, but he wasn't Ron Paul back then. He was just Ron Paul.
Right. He was just a dude. Well, you know what? I'm going to disagree. I'm going to say, as of right now, as of today, that this is a Johnson. Ooh, I know. We're coming out. We're clashing heads already. Now, okay, here's one, though, I think maybe we'll agree on. Now, I've been waiting, and you guys heard a little snippet of this at the very top of the show, our cold opener. But if you're like me, you're on certain lists where you get emails from candidates, and you might have gotten an email coming through #MoneyComet. Odie, did you get the Money Comet email?
I didn't get the email, but I had the treat of seeing the Money Comet video today, and oh my God, was it glorious!
It is a thing to behold. But I want to say, before we get into the video, just let me tell you about this email alone. The email I got from these people, by these people, of course, I mean Gary Johnson and Bill Weld. It came to me, and the content was, it's okay, it's fine. It's, the Republicans and Democrats, the two-party system is a dinosaur. Let's kill it with a comet. That's basically the big idea. But the thing that I noticed that sprung out to me immediately was the thing was written in Comic Sans. Who sends a political email in Comic Sans? What are you thinking? Why would you ever do that?
I don't know. I don't know anyone who runs a business, who does anything political, who sends out email, period, that uses Comic Sans.
No, I mean, what are you writing on are you putting a sign above the urinal that says, please flush or please don't flush with your feet? That's the only thing you should be using Comic Sans on. If you're on The Office and it's a plot of The Office, who's writing Comic Sans notes on the urinal doors? Stupid. So anyway, that aside though, let's take a quick listen to this commercial.
I'm Governor Gary Johnson.
I'm Governor Bill Weld.
The two-party system is a dinosaur. You are the comet. Show the world how massive an impact independent voters can make on the establishment.
Join us in kicking them
in the asteroid. Be part of the Johnson-Weld money comet. It's the bomb.
Unbelievable. I mean, look, just tell me this, just from listening to that. Certain things obviously stand out to me in that. Number one, I like that Bill Weld says, join us in kicking them in the asteroid.
That was phenomenal.
As a fan of puns, you know I can get behind that.
Do you think he thought of that himself, or do you think that was just kind of, I'm just going to put this in here myself? You think he actually did that, or do you think that was written up for him?
I'm sure they just showed that they just had them watch, like they probably got stoned and watched a nice long couple episodes of Cosmos, back to back to back. Not only the original Carl Sagan ones too, because Johnson and Weld are older. They probably just watched the episodes. They're like, just smoke that reefer, man, and let what comes out of your mouth come out of your mouth.
That's a good point, because during these ads, this ad and the one that you and Mark talked about last time, it's like Gary is stoned. I can't even describe the voice he's talking in. Hello, my name is Gary Johnson, and it's a safe place here. I'm a libertarian, and you can vote for me. He like changes his voice completely. It's so weird.
Yeah, he seems like more of like he's a child therapist or something like that, or a guidance counselor than he is a presidential candidate.
Exactly.
Where do you want to go to school, huh? Okay, yeah, all right. We're fiscally. Do you want to go somewhere that's fiscally conservative and socially? Anyway, that was one. The second thing, and I really hated this at the very end of this thing, which is just, if you don't watch it, I'll link to it in the show notes. But
if you don't watch it, shame on you. Go watch it.
Yeah, right what now. Kind of libertarian are you? It involves. I'll tell you, it involves very cheesy graphics of the Earth and a comet coming towards the Earth with just splices of them talking. But at the very end of this thing, you get Gary Johnson saying, "It's the bomb."
No, that was Bill Weld.
Was it? Are you sure?
Oh my gosh! I hope I'm not wrong on this, but I thought it was Weld.
I'm telling you, I think that was Johnson. It was hard to tell because it didn't really sound like either of them. Maybe it was an intern who was like, "They're gonna love this."
Maybe they both said it at the exact same time.
That's the voice that comes out of them. God, well, you know what? At some point, they probably are going to start using that super voice where it's just the two of them talking in tandem. It's going to be like the Inuit throat singing where they combo together to make a special unique sound. They're going to throat sing this bastard home. So yeah, but
it starts saying every other word.
You're right. Yeah, exactly. But I mean, come on, it's the bomb. What year is this? What is it? 1994? It's the bomb. Jesus Christ. Well, you know what? I'm giving it a JohnsOFF.
Ooh, a JohnsOFF.
What about you, man? Where you at?
I got to give it a JohnsOFF also, but I will give them a C+ for effort. So they're trying. It's not like they're just not trying. They're just terrible trying.
Yeah, they're awful. And they're blatantly ripping off the money bomb, of course. It's a money comet, money bomb. All right. They're trying to echo. Now, the thing that got me, they're trying to echo Ron Paul a bit, right? It's like it's Ron Paul-ish. And the one thing that I couldn't help but notice, and I'll get into this a little bit more later, I'm kind of skipping around a little bit on my agenda here, but Bill Weld, or sorry, not Bill Weld, Gary Johnson actually had made some snide comments about Rand and Ron Paul in one of the...
indeed.
Yeah, right? Which I thought, and you know what? I can't say they're exactly terribly off necessarily, because he basically had said that Rand and Ron, they both were very much anti-immigration, or not anti-immigration, but they wanted to, secure the borders, which is true. They both did want to do that. And that he was kind of saying that they weren't great for libertarianism. They weren't communicating the ideals, which, I mean, fine, I guess in one place I can understand why you're pointing that one topic, but in every other way, Ron Paul is leaps and bounds ahead of you. And he also, by the same time, he's saying secure the borders, which I don't think anybody is necessarily saying right now we should completely have open immigration. You can't just tear it down overnight. So he's saying secure the borders, but he's also saying, abolish the welfare state, which, yeah, we can't really do that either. But I mean, come on, man. You're really comparing yourself and Ron Paul at this point? Ron Paul, the guy who got half the people that give a damn about you to pay attention? I mean, what do you think about that?
It really is maddening. And the one thing that really stuck out to me is he seemed to take exception to the fact that Ron and Rand Paul are socially conservative. What I don't understand, and I think a lot of libertarians get confused about this, is you can be socially conservative and be a libertarian. You don't have to be out in the streets smoking weed, buying prostitutes. You don't have to live that life where you're just indulging in all the freedoms that you can. You could be socially conservative and say, hey, guess what? I'm not going to do that. I actually don't like some of that stuff. But you know what? If you want to do it, that's fine with you. That's fine. Go ahead, do it. Have fun. I'm not going to put you in jail, and I'm not going to hurt you. So it's confusing, and it goes back to that fiscally conservative, socially liberal thing that Gary Johnson and Bill Weld always say, or socially inclusive, I think they've started to say now, which is a little bit better because inclusive means, we're including everybody, the social conservatives and the people that are liberal. So that really does annoy me that he did pick that one little thing, which I think is just a stupid point.
Yeah, totally agreed. And one way I just talking about what you were saying, where you can be libertarian and be other things as well, is I remember I used to take a class on Buddhism back in college at good old Penn State. And it's like you could be Buddhist and Christian at the same time. Libertarianism is an ideal. You could be a lot of things and still be libertarian, at your core. So, yeah, I agree. It's insulting. So, clearly, how dare you speak Ron's name? JohnsOFFs!
Yeah, I got to be 100% with you here. That is a big-time JohnsOFF, especially for disparaging the name of Ron Paul in libertarian circles. I won't stand for it.
No. I mean, Rand, hey, I still like Rand, but that's more understandable. What about you, Eddie? Do you have anything to bring to the party here?
Yeah, I don't know if you, I'm guessing you caught this recently because it was mentioned in our forum. God damn it. What's that guy's name?
Perfect. I'm not even going to cut this. His name's Joseph Knowles.
Joseph Knowles.
There's your shout out, Joseph.
He's actually my favorite forum member. And if you guys don't know what we're talking about the Lions of Liberty Forum. And if you're listening to this and you haven't joined it, like our good friend Joseph Knowles has, sorry about that, Joseph, please do. And you can do it just by going on Facebook. And you type Lions of Liberty Forum in the search bar at the top of Facebook, comes right up, and we will approve you as quickly as we can, unless you're a Nigerian scammer. Like, there have been an influx of Nigerian scammers.
Half of those people are rappers. Don't forget. Nigerian rappers as well we get a lot of.
Couple rappers, too. I don't understand it, but you will not get in if you are from Nigeria, probably, which it's nothing against Nigeria, but you're probably trying to scam us. Anyway, to get back to what we were talking about, what Joseph posted in the forum, it was an article Gary talking about the basic income, which the article was from basicincome.org. So look at them. They have a whole organization of their own. Fancy.
I think they've got an angle they're working.
Yeah, just a little bit. And it was sort of controversial, and a lot of libertarians really didn't like what he said, saying that he would be in favor, and this isn't a direct quote, paraphrasing, he would be in favor of a basic income, mainly to get rid of a lot of the bureaucratic stuff from, you have all these different, welfare programs, Social Security, disability, all this crap where the government's paying stuff out is so extremely inefficient. Instead of having that stuff, just have a basic income for people that if they're not making, a certain amount of money with the actual income, contributing to society, just give them this basic income and send them on their way. So I guess before I give my opinion on this, Brian, what did you think of it?
Well, as you said, it's an interesting one because right off the bat, when you hear as a libertarian anything about basic income or any sort of just across the book entitlement, you're like, F no to that. Like, get it out of here. But in regards to universal basic income, I will say I'm more open to it. Like Garrett says, I'm more open to it than against it for a couple reasons. One is that, like you said, it gets rid of all that bureaucracy for the most part, which I think is good. The second thing is that, you can't, as I mentioned earlier, you can't rip everything out at once. So this I would view as a step in the right direction. instead of just keeping the welfare state as it is and all the entitlements as they are. The third thing, though, and this is what to me is the most attractive, is that one of the things I can't stand about welfare is people get on welfare and they never, ever get off welfare. Because half the time, people get on there, they're on welfare, they have more kids, they get stuck in this rut where they're making more money on welfare than they would make if they went out and got a job at McDonald's. Of course, granted, people on welfare now can't get hired at McDonald's because they're paying $15 an hour. Who can hire somebody for that amount of money? It's crazy. But point being, with basic income, you now have a payment where it's there no matter what. So like welfare, you have to get off welfare to go work. Now, if basic income, you can go get a job. And if that job is going to pay you more than the basic income, fantastic. If it doesn't, you're not losing anything. So it's like you have incentive to go out and actually try to get a job rather than just being like, I can't get a job. It's going to fuck up my welfare, you know?
No, absolutely. And I think another thing with welfare is, a lot of the problem with welfare is there's an incentive, if you're a single mother, incentive to have a kid, to have another kid and continue as a single mother because you get more payments from the government. I'm not exactly sure how this basic income would work, but I don't think that you would get, hopefully, if it's set up this way, I would support it even more. That you wouldn't get more money just based on having more kids or different things like that.
No, I would agree with you there. Yeah,
basic income across the board. Yeah. I think that'd be the way to go. And this isn't to say that, as libertarians, speaking for myself, I don't favor, government redistribution of wealth. But that's the thing. That's these rights have been taken away from us sort of incrementally, a little bit at a time. And if we could take a step in a direction to sort of take some of that back and give more control to the people and get rid of some of this stupid bureaucracy where just money is just wasted freaking everywhere, I think it's a step in the right direction. And you can say that, this isn't libertarian, but I'm still in favor of it because it gets us a little bit more towards liberty.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. So what are you saying then? What's your grade?
It's a Johnson. It's a Johnson.
Goddamn! Well, you know what, man? I'm also going to say a very hesitant Johnson. So, sorry, Joseph. I know Joseph was thinking this is a slam dunk Johnson off. However, I will say there was something else that he talked about in this article as well that, spoiler alert, is going to take us into the land of liberty make-believe.
All right, Trolley. Neighborhood of make-believe.
Yes, the land of liberty make-believe, everybody. Now, you might be saying, what could this be? What insanity could take us into this wonderful land of bubbles and rainbows? Well, let me tell you, in that same article where Johnson was asked about basic income, they also asked him about the carbon tax. Now, he didn't go into too much detail about it, but he did say, yeah, the carbon tax is something that I would be open to. This is his quote, I know a lot of smart libertarian people who are open to it. Really, Gary? Please tell me who the hell you're talking to. Like, Odie, is he calling you up? Or what's your opinion on the carbon tax?
Can you name one? Can anybody name one libertarian in favor of the carbon tax? No,
they don't exist. Land of liberty make believe, right there in a goddamn nutshell. I mean, come on. It makes me so aggravated because, it's true. Later on, I'm going to talk about the Chicago Tribune interview in like a few minutes. And in that, he's talking about how income inequality comes from, all the regulations that are put in place and the rich being helped at the expense of the poor. What the hell do you think a carbon tax is going to help do? Same thing. It's just going to get passed along to everybody else. It's just so stupid.
Just a giant transfer of wealth. And this reminds me a little bit of, you used to talk about back with your Rand pluses and minuses, Rand Paul one sentence earlier. This is Gary Johnson one sentence earlier. Gary, just say you're in favor of the carbon of basic income. Say that it gets rid of bureaucracy, then just shut up and leave.
Exactly. Leave. Carbon tax, just say, I'm against any more regulations. Yeah, peace out. Bam, I'm out. Gary Johnson, 2016. Johnson Weld time. All right, so clearly, JohnsOFFs.
JohnsOFFs.
Awful. Just insultingly awful. All right, what's next here? How about we talk about... Actually, you know what? Wait, we're going to go on to into Bill Weld land in a minute. But, Odie, I think you had one more that you wanted to talk about, too, for Johnson before we move along.
Yeah, an article that it was from the Libertarian website, Libertarian Vindicator. And they were quoting an interview that Gary Johnson did with Kitco News. And Kitco is a wonderful website. That's where I track my gold and silver prices all the time. So
it's not just for children's toys.
It's exactly.
Kit with a K. Kit with a T.
It's a free advertisement for Kitco. You're welcome, Kitco, you bastards. Send me some gold.
Yeah, send us both some gold.
Yeah, we love gold. Anyway, so this Kitco was not very nice to Johnson in their analysis of him of his opinion of the Federal Reserve here, saying that Johnson said that he would sign legislation to abolish the Fed, but that it could cause a lot of worldwide panic. So I think that a lot of libertarians interpreted him saying this as him really not being in favor of abolishing the Fed. And I'm not sure if that's exactly what he meant. I think he was just saying, sure, you put it on my desk. We should get rid of the Fed. I'll sign it. But there's going to be some stuff that goes wrong. But he didn't say that, after a while, things would get better. But what do you think of that, Brian?
No, I mean, I agree with you. I think they read into it the wrong thing. Without a doubt, he's right. If you audit the Fed, I mean, clearly the market's going to go, oh, hold on. Things are going crazy. Let's wait and see what happens. Markets crash at the drop of a pin anyway. I mean, it's like, give me a break. Almost nothing causes it. A fly crashes into a stock ticker and the market drops. I mean, give me a break.
Look what happened after the Brexit. I mean, the markets crashed and now we're up to almost all-time highs.
Right,
so,
yeah, just reactionary. So it doesn't matter. I mean, give me a break. He said he'd sign documents if they put him on his desk to abolish it. Now, one thing I wish he had said was that he would champion a cause to abolish it, which he did not go that far. And he also said, well, it'll never happen, but if it did happen, I would sign a document to abolish it. So, I mean, it's overall, I'd say it's good, but.
Yeah, overall, I'd say it could. I think it just comes back to, with the last one we were talking about with the basic income and the carbon tax. I just wish that he would be more clear and explain himself. He leaves himself open to just having to someone reading it and really just having just any opinion they want to read into it almost. He's not clear. He doesn't really define his views. And that's definitely a bad thing. So because of that, because he doesn't clearly talk about the Fed, clearly talk about legalizing freedom in the money system, I got to give him a JohnsOFF for this one.
Wow. You're JohnsOFFing him. I'm going to give him... God, it's so hard. I like half of it. But you know what? I agree. It's a very tepid endorsement. I agree. JohnsOFF. All right. So now that we've gotten our Gary Pure out of the way, that sweet no-cut Gary Pure, let's go and take a trip, if you'll join me, into the mind weld. Did everybody take the time to put their faces in the freezer with Bill Weld? I hope so.
I got my freezer right here. My face is so cold.
Oh my God. Glorious. That's the opposite. I should have brought my freezer in. I'm literally, for those of you who don't know, I don't have hair. I went bald at an early age. And in the, what I'm calling the Brian's of Liberty Studios right now, it's hot. I don't have air conditioning. I'm literally sweating. There's sweat coming down from my earphones and from my head. It's absolutely disgusting.
That's a wonderful visual. Thank you so much for sharing that with us.
There's like sweat collecting in my belly button. That's how gross I am. All right, enough of that. But yeah, so Bill Weld, it was easy. Bill Weld. Couple things I want to touch on for Bill. So Bill and Gary sat down with the Chicago Tribune and did some interviews. I talked a little bit about that with Gary earlier, but there were two things specifically I wanted to hit on for Bill. And the first one is actually, I would say good, because they're talking about Bill and Gary and them campaigning together, because they're just inseparable. And let me read a quick quote for you guys. Weld said, I ran as a duo with my lieutenant governor, a guy named Paul Salucci. We were both running. We decided to run together. We had a unified staff. I have personal confidence that Gary and I can have that kind of relationship also. Obviously, if there's a disagreement, there's only one president of the United States. What do you think of that, Odie?
Are we sure that Bill Weld wasn't talking about himself when he said there's only one president of the United States?
We are not sure about that in any way. And as we mentioned the last one of these, he may just have a plan to kill Gary Johnson. As we know, it was easy. So, yeah, I don't know. He may be talking about himself in a clever roundabout way. But, I mean, I'll take it. I'll take it on the surface for right now and say, at least this is the first time I think really I've heard Bill Weld be like, no, I know I'm not the president. There's only one president. Even though he didn't say it here, I think we can read into it. What about you?
Bill Weld has never said vice president, the title vice president. I don't think
he can. I think it's impossible.
I'm kind of wondering if he does everything as a duo. Everything he does, he goes to the grocery store, he's got to go with someone. He goes to the gym, he's got to go with someone. Maybe he can't be alone. Maybe he's just mentally ill. He's like Tobias Fuke, never nude, but instead of jean short cutoffs, he just always has to have somebody else with him. Possibly. I have no idea who that is. I'm not even going to pretend.
Arrested Development, my friend.
Yeah, that's right. You told me like years ago to watch that show, and I never did. So
all right,
sorry about
good
that.
to see you hold my opinion in high value. Excellent. By the way, Stranger Things on Netflix, fantastic show. We should do a whole other podcast on that. It's great. All right, so you know what? I'm going to give him for this, even though he may be talking about himself. I'm going to give that a Johnson.
You're giving him a Johnson for that. Well, yeah, you know what? It's hard to give him you kind of have to give him a Johnson because he didn't say anything outright terrible here. He kind of just said, I've done this before, and I'll let Gary make some decisions. So, yeah, I'll give him a Johnson as well.
All right. You know, I'm trying to mine for gold in just a pile of hardened shit that is Bill Weld, by the way. So, I mean, I'm really looking, people. I really dislike him. So here's another thing Bill Weld said. Maybe he's going to even it out right here. So later on in that same interview, Bill Weld, they were asked about, what would you do if you got in? You know, who would your cabinet be? And Bill said, well, we would propose to hire ideally the very best minds of the Democratic Party, the very best minds of the Republican Party. Odie, what's missing from that?
And the very best minds of Libertarian Party? No Libertarians?
No Libertarians. No Libertarians mentioned in there at all. Nope. Bill Weld, good old I'm with the establishment, Bill Weld. Of course, he's not even thinking. At no point did it cross his mind that maybe he should hire libertarians as a libertarian vice president or for a libertarian cabinet.
Well, you can't hire libertarians, don't have any experience. You got these two governors with all this experience. You got to hire some Republicans and Democrats that have all kinds of experience because that's what it's all about.
All about experience, man. That's how people fail up in the government year after year after year. JohnsOFFs. Yeah,
that's an easy one. It was easy. JohnsOFFs.
It was easy. All right, I got a good one. I got a good one for you guys. Now, Bill Weld was on a radio station, KFILE, and I have no idea where that is. The Michael Smerconis Show. That's what it's, the Michael Smerconis Show. And he was asked about the Republican National Convention. Now, they have a platform going there at the National Convention, and it's got a ton of stuff in it, as you would imagine. However, one of the things in it that is exceptionally ridiculous is that they call porn like this, they call it a public menace, quote unquote. They call porn a public menace, and Bill Weld was asked about it. So let's just give a quick listen to what he had to say.
Platform that's in the process of being finalized said that it seems almost Victorian. Among the platforms, it declares pornography a public health crisis. I'll bet nobody has asked Bill Weld this, so let me be the first. Is pornography a public health crisis?
No, I don't think pornography is a public health crisis. And you know what those Victorians did when they got home after being lording it over everybody about pornography.
What did they do? What was he saying?
I just don't know. I don't know what you would do after that.
You can guess.
I gotta say, man, I like that.
That was good. That was a good one. And, you know, I'll keep it short and sweet with this one. That's Johnson. It is.
Johnson in many ways, shapes, and forms for that one. Johnson all over. They're Johnson off with their Johnsons. I apologize for saying that. It's just stupid and unnecessary. But you know what? It's staying in the show. Mark's not here. Daddy's away. Children.
Oh,
Daddy's
boy.
away. All right. One more thing to wrap this show up, guys. And this is a real quickie. And basically, they did a little bit of a study and asked people, okay, what do you think about Bill Weld? Now, Odie, you know this. Bill Weld was, Gary Johnson's position was like, I have to have him. He will assure me victory. He will assure that we get our 5% and we appear in the debates and we get in the polls. We have to have Bill Weld. Now, they polled a bunch of people. What do you think the results of the poll said?
Well, if I had to guess, I would think that everyone loved Bill Weld, and that's the reason they're voting for Gary Johnson, right?
Bingo, nailed it. No, completely inaccurate. Nobody gives a shit. 0 people give a shit. I mean, maybe there were 2 shits given. That's where that phrase comes from. I think 1 person gave 2 shits. This show's going to be marked explicit, everybody. No, they literally, like, the poll came back. Nobody cares. It's not that they love him. It's not that they hate him. They're like, who's Bill Weld? Why should I care about Bill Weld? I do not care at all about this person, which completely undermines the whole Gary Johnson's whole platform of I have to have Bill Weld. Meanwhile, Bill Weld's just out there crapping up every time they speak. Like in the last few shows, he always brings Gary way down with his idiotic comments. Today, he actually broke even, but usually he's the anchor. He's dredging him down to the bottom of the ocean, man. And
yeah, he's definitely not helping, and it just makes me sick to think back to that Libertarian convention of Gary Johnson up on stage, almost crying, pleading that he needs Bill Weld, and just to think we could have someone like the great Larry Sharpe in there just dominating it in the media, but we got to listen to Bill Weld just mumble through things and stick his face in the freezer and probably drink a fifth of bourbon every night.
Yeah, well, I can't hold him accountable for that. I love me some bourbon. I'm drinking a cider right now. Clearly a Johnson. The whole point of having him there, completely and utterly pointless. Just shameful. Shameful, Gary. Now, that will do it. For me, from my count, I had, from my count, counting Bill and Gary, I have 5 Johnsons and 6 JohnsOFFs. And Odie, I have not been keeping track, but I think you were real close with that. In real time, I had trouble.
I think I have not been keeping track because I can't count. But I think I had one more JohnsOFF. I could be wrong.
Yeah, so. The first one we disagreed on. So yeah, I mean that's Gary's he's coming up behind. I think after last time he was literally dead even at the end of the podcast. So today he's going to be at least 3 in the hole. So step up your game there, GJ.
Yeah, I mean, we're tough on Gary, we're tough on Weld, but you know what, guys? Yeah, really, I think you said it right. Step up your game, and enough of these ridiculous commercials with the cocaine porn music. Come on. Oh, my
God, seriously.
Get something else going.
Seriously. Hire somebody new, because it's like 1995 style ads with horrible music, horrible graphics, uninspiring everything. Just terrible. All right, well, let's take it on a high note, though, Odie, as Mark always loves to do. Why don't we ask our audience to join us in Live Long
and Live Free.
It's a beautiful day in this Libertyhood, a beautiful day for a candidate. Would he be mine? Could he be mine? It's a Liberty day in this Johnsonwood, a Liberty-ish day for a Gary. Would he be mine? Could he be mine? I've never wanted to have a candidate just like you. I've always wanted to have a real libertarian who's schooled. But let's make the most of this beautiful day. Since we're together, we might as well say, would he be mine? Could he be mine? As long as he acts libertarian. Won't you please, won't you please, please won't you be a principled libertarian.